I recently read Noise by Daniel Kahneman. Noisy judgment is a problem. If your estimates vary greatly from week to week, your coworkers will stop asking for your input. If your praise and promotions seem random, your employees will get frustrated and quit. And if 3 doctors give you 3 very different diagnoses, you won't know what to do. Highly variable and inaccurate judgment is what author Daniel Kahneman refers to as noisy judgment. Noisy judgment is often a bigger problem than biased judgment. To understand the difference, picture 2 targets at a shooting range. The first target has 5 shots clustered in the bottom right corner. It's easy to spot and correct that bias. Simply get the shooter to adjust the scope on their rifle. But the 5 shots on the second target are scattered all over the target. If there was a 6th shot, you wouldn't know where it would end up. And you wouldn't know what to tell the shooter to quickly correct their inaccuracy. The same is true for noisy judgment. If your estimates are consistently 30 to 50% lower than what they should be, you simply factor that into your next estimate. But if your estimates range between 50% lower and 50% higher, you have a harder problem to solve. Now, noisy judgment exists for a variety of reasons. On a personal level, changes in one's mood creates significant noise. The sentence you get from a judge can largely depend on whether that judge just fought with their spouse and they're in a bad mood, or if their daughter just got into a good college and they're in a good mood. The sequence in which judgments are made can also create noise. For example, if you've just given a higher than average grade to 4 essays in a row, you might give the next essay a lower grade, even if the quality is comparable to the first 4. Studies show that the chance of being admitted to an asylum drops by 19% if a judge has just admitted 2 people to an asylum. Within groups, individualism generates noise. You see, we all have a desire to be seen and heard, which leads some people to exaggerate their viewpoints and make extreme predictions. A financial analyst may believe the stock market will only drop by 10% in the next 3 months, but then gradually convinces himself it could drop closer to 50% because such a prediction will help him stand out on YouTube. If you want people to trust and value your judgment, you must ensure that your judgment has as little noise as possible. The best way to reduce noise is to practice good decision hygiene. Just as washing your hands after going to the bathroom reduces the odds of getting sick, and brushing your teeth reduces the odds of getting cavities, there are 2 things you can do to practice good decision hygiene and save yourself from the eventual pain that comes from noisy judgments. First, establish a mean anchor. Establishing a mean anchor ensures you don't stray too far away from a statistical average. So for example, if you're determining the likelihood of someone passing an exam, look at historic pass-fail rates. If you're providing a project estimate, look at the average final costs of several similar projects. You could now use large language models as a starting point by asking, what's the average rate of X? Or what is the probability of Y happening? Just make sure it provides reference links that you can use to verify the information quality. Now, sometimes you don't have public data for a judgment. In these instances, leverage the wisdom of a crowd. In 1907, Francis Galton challenged 787 villagers at a country fair to estimate the weight of a prize ox. There was huge variability in their estimates, and none of the villagers guessed the ox's actual weight of 1,198 pounds. However, the mean average of their guesses was 1,200 pounds, just 2 pounds off. The crowd was wise, even though their individual estimates were quite noisy. You can get surprisingly accurate and wise judgments for important decisions, like an estimate for a project or input on whether you should take a risky career move, by aggregating the opinions of multiple people, far fewer than 787 villagers. The key to leveraging the wisdom of crowds is to get enough people so that they start to cancel out each other's biases and ensure that those people don't know what each other is saying or which way you are leaning. This could be as simple as emailing 5 coworkers to get their estimate without sharing yours, and then calculating the mean average value of the estimates you receive. After you acquire a statistical mean or a wisdom of the crowd average value, make your own personal judgment, either higher or lower than the average, and list the information that supports your judgment being higher or lower. Now, on a scale of 0 to 100%, rate the predictive power of the information you have. If you were trying to predict the GPA of a girl named Amy, but all you had was Amy's photo, your information has virtually zero predictive power, and you should stick to the mean. But if you know Amy's grades for every subject that year, you have perfectly predictive information and can confidently go with your judgment. The key is to start from the mean anchor and then move from that mean anchor out to your judgment based on how predictive your information is. If your information is just somewhat predictive, then move no more than 50% away from the mean anchor to make your final judgment. This find the mean, make a judgment, rate your information, and move up from the mean technique ensures that your final judgment doesn't stray too far from an informed value and is less noisy. Now, if you truly want to optimize your judgment, use the time you have before you need to announce your decision to tap into the wisdom of your inner crowd. Since mood, fatigue, stress levels, exposure to recent events, and even the weather influence your judgment, you should check in with yourself over the next few hours or days by setting at least 3 judgment revision reminders on your phone to catch yourself in different mental states. When you receive the judgment revision reminder notification, assume that your previous judgment was off the mark and consider why that could be. Challenge your initial assumptions and push yourself as far from your previous judgment as possible. Then write down this new alternative judgment in a note on your phone and then return to what you were doing. Repeat this process every time you receive a judgment revision reminder notification. Then, when it's time to announce your final decision, take the average of all the estimates you made. In the end, noisy judgment is unreliable judgment. And as Kahneman says, wherever there's judgment, there's noise, and more of it than you think. Therefore, routinely practice good decision hygiene so that people can rely on your judgment. Start by establishing mean anchors or leveraging the wisdom of crowds by getting independent judgments from several knowledgeable people. Then only move away from the mean and towards your personal judgment if you have highly predictive information. When possible, use any extra time to challenge your judgment and collect different judgments in different mental states, and then take the average of those judgments. That was the core message that I gathered from Noise by the late, great Daniel Kahneman. If your job relies on good, consistent judgment, I highly recommend this book. If you would like a 1-page PDF summary of insights that I gathered from this book, just click the link below and I'd be happy to email it to you. If you already subscribe to the free Productivity Game email newsletter, this PDF is sitting in your inbox. If you like this video, please share it. And as always, thanks for watching and have yourself a productive week.